going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with your November 3rd, 2021 AEW Dynamite review, and many apologies for not having a Rampage up for you guys last week. Work kicked me in the ass, and then I was busy on the weekend. I went to the Destiny show that I've been talking to you guys about for a while. I'll have to do another video about that on another day, about how Luke Gallows got stuck at the border and Josh Alexander had a non-title match against Speedball Mike Bailey instead, which ended up with Speedball Mike Bailey getting a contract with Impact, which is really cool. Aiden Prince, who I'm fastly becoming a huge fan of, kept his Next Generation Championship in a really bloody cage match with Kobe Durst. I got to see Jordan Grace live for the first time, and I got to see Lufisto for the first time, period, and that was a lot of fun. And a lot of Von Vertigo versus Lionel Knight was good. We had a four-way dance with two fellas that I can't remember the name of, which is incredibly terrible, and it came down to Gabriel Fuerza and Reverso, which is going to lead into them in December having a hair versus mask match, which is also going to be a lot of fun. Also, there was a lot of fun Halloween stuff, people there doing Halloween, lots and lots of Darby Allins in the crowd. We had a kid in the crowd who cut a Darby Allin promo on CM Punk, which was a lot of fun. The finalists in that tournament were one kid dressed like Darby Allin and one kid dressed like Alexa Bliss, so do with that what you will. I will get into more detail with that when I get all the photos and videos and all that I have up and ready for you guys as well, because it was Halloween as well. Our current and still reigning Destiny champion Josh Alexander is he had the match against Speedball Mike Bailey, and he came out with his kid dressed like him in a little tiny kids singlet. It was very cool, very feel good moment type stuff, and the Speedball Mike Bailey stuff at the end was awesome as well. For those of you that do watch Impact, and for those of you that do tune in when I preview Impact pay-per-views, if you haven't, because I hadn't seen him until he came to Destiny, check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list, obviously, give this guy a look. He's a lot of fun. He's a feel-good wrestler that still makes you a little bit scared of him, and it's another guy that wrestles with no shoes on, which is always different and interesting. Strikes like crazy. As I say, went toe-to-toe with Josh Alexander, and for those of you who know about Josh Alexander, you know what that says about that. But so between that and Halloween and what else did I do? Oh yeah, I worked a freaking 13-hour day on Friday, and I was tired as fuck, and I had to go and do an extra day on Saturday, so I couldn't sandwich a Rampage review in. I still haven't watched the Britt Baker Abaddon Halloween hardcore match. Apparently it's good. I'm not surprised. We saw Britt Baker on the show tonight, and they didn't even mention it, which I found kind of odd. So I will do that. I got to get caught up on some Impact stuff as well. I'm hoping to get people on. I know I keep saying this. Life keeps kicking us in the ass. Timing keeps kicking us in the ass. The hosts that I have, I keep saying this, guys, I am very lucky to have the hosts that I have, but they have, as much as I complain about my busy life, most of my co-hosts have busier lives than me, and if they can't make it on to help me make this show better, I can't really hold that against them. So, Kristen, Guapo, our buddy Super Sexy Jake DeMarco, they are coming. I just don't know when. Let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. This whole show had a little bit of a tint over it, and it's nobody's fault, and it's ultimately a good thing, but anybody who pays attention to social media at all woke up this morning to the either the tweet from Tony Khan or other people talking about it, or other people screenshotting the tweet from Tony Khan, or if you watch What Culture like I do, you got it from there as well. And I can't put it any better than Tony Khan did, so you'll excuse me if I'm just going to read his tweet. John Moxley has allowed me to share with you that he is entering an inpatient alcohol treatment program. John is a beloved member of the AEW family. We stand with him and Renee and his family and his friends as he shifts his focus fully to his recovery. It goes on to detail some further stuff. Please be mindful of their privacy. Keep in mind how we want John to know how important he is to AEW and the fans and all that sort of thing, but be mindful of their privacy and this personal time and all those appendices you put on a message like that. But I thought overall, I take my shots at Tony Khan, I take my shots at AEW. This isn't the time or the place. Obviously, I thought really, really classy thing. Obviously, he's, gotten John's permission to make this stuff public, and I'll be honest, there's everything and nothing for me to say about this. I can't speak to those types of issues. I'm lucky enough to not deal with those types of issues. I'm lucky if I grab one Smirnoff as I'm watching SmackDown on a Friday night, personally. So I don't want to even pretend that I know what those type of issues are like. I've had friends who have dealt with it. I have friends who have tried to tell me what it's like. I can't pretend that means I know what it's like. On the one hand, yes, on a selfish level, for those of us that love Mox and how much he is, from the beginning until now, a big part of AEW. And it's a bummer that we're not going to see him, and it's a bummer that he's going through this, but it's awesome that he's steamrolling forward in getting himself help for this at a time in 2021 where it's still sort of frowned upon. It's still got the stigma attached to it. Again, I'm treading lightly here because I don't want to. This is one of those times where I actually don't want to step on any toes. But you figure he's got my hometown girl Renee Young is I guess she's Renee Good now, isn't she? But he's got her to think about, and he's got his kiddo there to worry about. And not to sound cliche, but it's just wrestling. We're all going to love to see him when he's back. I'm sure he'll love to be back. I'm sure his family will love to see him back doing what he loves. But at the same time, in comparison to, the real life first stuff, it's not unlike, I'm going to hate to draw this comparison because I'm going to make it, I'm going to ruin this comparison. You guys know, as I say, always very, very lucky to have the co-hosts that I have. And a lot of the times that I don't get people on, it's just because timing issues or somebody gets an unexpected guest, so we couldn't record that night or whatever. I try not to talk about it too much because it's not really my place to say, but a lot of people in the YouTube sphere know that our friend Jake DeMarco has been dealing with some stuff. And over and above that, anytime he's ever come to tell me that he can't make a show or whatever, it's always backed up with an apology. And I will say to him what I'm going to say in the Jon Moxley situation right now. It's like, whatever fun we were going to have, whatever good show we were going to record, whatever great match we were expecting at the next pay-per-view, real life has to come first. And I know that sounds so simplistic coming from me who's not in Moxley's position and not, on the gigantic platform that he's on, and I'm not pretending that that's not a hard thing to walk away from, but real life has to come first. So I'm looking at this as a positive. As you say, you never want to see anybody struggling, but you do want to see people doing something about their struggle. I think I've managed to touch on most of that without making myself sound like a complete dick, so let's get on with the show. We started off the show with Omega versus ALLIN Angels from the Dark Order. Now, they were talking about on commentary that these guys have a history, that ALLIN Angels took them to the limit once on a random something show. I either didn't see, here's my ignorance, guys. It is what it is. I either didn't see it or I don't remember it. So going into this, I'm like, either this is going to be a squash, which they usually don't do in the first match on Dynamite, or this is going to be some, oh, isn't that really nice? Omega made him look really good before he squashed him. Which is kind of it. ALLIN Angels look great in the match. I mean, obviously he's one of several in a group that is mostly for comedy, mostly for story building, not individual stories. But this was a really good match. It was a really good outing for somebody we don't often see outside of the group context. And the underdog nature of it is almost an understatement. But I really liked Omega in this match. And it sounds funny that what is such a predictable, I'll say long squash, is one of my favorite matches that I've seen Omega in a while, because there was so much. Obviously, he's great in the ring. Nobody's ever saying that. You know, I've said it a million times. He's a great wrestler. I don't understand the God status thing, whatever. I'm not going to drill down on that again. But over and above the wrestling and the moves and all that type of thing, it's just the unnecessary meanness. Like, he was being unnecessarily mean, and he was having fun with his unnecessary... Like, if he could have knocked him over, instead he pie-faced him and took him to the ground. Now, not to say that Alan Angels didn't get some offense in, which he did, and, you know, he made a good showing of himself. He didn't go out there and look like a twat, like... Let's be real, because you can't do that for 20 minutes. That would be really boring after a while. But I really got to tip my cap to Kenny Omega, who did some awesome character work here. Really, really unnecessarily cruel, like almost let him have a little bit just so we could take it back from him again. Eventually, though, it does become very one-sided. It does become, you are part of a mid-card large faction. I am one of the EVPs and the champion. This is how this is going to go. And after the second best V-trigger in the business, Omega gets the obvious win. He's almost about to put him down with the one-winged angel on a chair. I think it's funny that there's a status thing, right? Because there's your setup and your finisher. His setup is the second best V-trigger in the business, and his finisher is the one-winged angel. He didn't even use his finisher to end the match. He just hit him with a couple of the second best V-trigger in the business and got the pin that way, but he was going to get him with the one-winged angel on a chair after the match. He's obviously chased off by Paige, and that leads to their match at Full Gear. I will say, Omega vs. Paige is going to be awesome at Full Gear. I cannot take anything away from that match. I cannot pretend that I'm not looking forward to that match. And I'll be careful yet again, because I know he had to step away because he's building a family. His wife just had a baby and whatever, speaking of Adam Page. But even before that, this has gone on a long time. And I've said it in AEW. I'll be fair, it happens in both companies. It was the Sasha and Bayley story in WWE, and it's the Paige and Omega story here. In both cases, the respective fans of both companies, I truly do believe, have mistaken a really good long-term story with a story that's just gone on a long time. And there's a chasm of difference there. Not to say that the story hasn't been good. But Justice League Snyder Cut. There's my odd comparison for the night. I saw somebody in my comment section say, almost every video I say something like, hey guys, you guys are going to think I'm crazy, but listen for a second. So there's my comparison. You could have had the Justice League, you got the Justice League Snyder Cut. The Justice League Snyder Cut is awesome. It doesn't need to be as long. Justice League Snyder Cut is better than the original. I will not deny that in the slightest. Let's not get into that whole debate. But I will say that it doesn't need to be as long as it is. It doesn't need to be broken up into 6 chapters that were almost 6 episodes on HBO Max that we don't get in Canada, so I gotta get it through Crave. It's okay, it's fine, whatever, I'm over it. But that's what's happening here with Paige and Omega. It had to happen at Full Gear, because if it goes any longer, it's going to get into Sasha Banks and Bayley territory, which is really, really sad, because you look at the Sasha Banks and Bayley story, and I really, really like one of those girls. We go to people running down the card for the night, and just sort of shuffled into the mix because Mox was moving on in the Championship Eliminator Tournament. He was supposed to face Orange Cassidy tonight. They sort of snuck in the announcement that he was going to be replaced by Miro. Now, here's where I have to take my hat off to the fans a little bit, but also give people a little bit of a reality check. The overwhelming feeling throughout the day, because as we said, we read the Tony Khan thing already, and that was very, very early in the day. People sending off their things to Mox, and as I said, it's just wrestling. Go deal with real life shit, and I do mean that. And a lot of people were ending their tweets with stuff along the lines of, look guys, we can go for a day without worrying about the company, we can go for a day without worrying about storylines, I don't want to see anybody tweeting about the tournament tonight. And from a fan point of view and on a human level, I absolutely adore that take. It's very human, it's very sensitive, it's very sympathetic, it's very true. But here's the caveat to that you have to understand. Tony Khan and the rest of AEW and the rest of the roster does need to fill that gap. That's a reality. And I don't think it's a disrespect to Mox to say we have to move on to the tournament. We have a pay-per-view coming up in 10 days. You're not going to be on it. We're going to miss you. We send you all the love and support that we can. We can't wait to have you back. But the show will go on. So, I mean, Miro's a good replacement. I mean, I would have loved... This is one of those times where I would have loved a little bit of shotgun booking. It's like, hey, we have this really unfortunate situation with Mox. We're going to start off the show tonight with a Battle Royal, and the Battle Royal winner is going to go and face... Like, you could have had somebody. They just picked out Miro because they picked out Miro. Which is fine. Miro's a great replacement. They could have done a little something here in the beginning to say this is why he got that spot. Maybe he's number 11 in the rankings. I really don't know. But if that is the case, I don't think it was verbalized very well. Again, it sounds like I'm nitpicking. I really am tipping my hat to AEW. They're making the best of a situation. They're doing the best for their talent. They're doing the best for their show at the same time. For them to just shuffle in that, hey, Mox's replacement is Miro is not the end of the world. They could have done a little, like I say, they could have done a little Battle Royal or a casino something to start off the show, but they didn't. Miro's going to take on Orange Cassidy in the main event. Oh, yes. CM Punk comes out. And here's where things get a bit heavy again, because we all know CM Punk is the straight edge guy and whatever the case may be. And he comes out to talk about this is hard. This is another one of those things where I don't necessarily think wrestling should do this, because he came out to talk about real stuff and end on a promo, and even for somebody like CM Punk, who is I think still god tier on the microphone, I have said he needs to stop this, comeback tour of, hey, I'd like to fight him, I'd like to fight him, I'd like to fight him, I'd like to fight him. But even with that, even with the smiley Phil, I'm just happy to be back, he's still god tier on the mic, and it's fine. Even he cannot escape how awkward it is to talk about a real thing and then talk about stuff that's not... Nobody can. That's not a dig at him, that's not a dig at anybody. I don't think it's something creatively that anybody should be asked to do, if you want me to be completely honest. But he comes out, asks the crowd not to cheer for him at all. He says, I want to hear stuff for Mox. He goes on to say, like, look, I've been where he is. I've thought, you just had to go on, you just had to be tough. And what I did like about this is he's doing the good version of what advocates and SJWs and all that would say, oh, we need to speak out against toxic masculinity, which is crap and a fake thing that was made up by people who like to cry. But he's talking about, like, this whole idea, this extra expectation that's put on dudes specifically, where you can't say that you're struggling, you can't say that you're hurting, you can't say that you are legitimately hurt, you can't say that you're sick, you can't say that you're having personal issues. And he ends it off with a really, really great thing, reaching out to his fellow members of the roster as well as the audience. Hey, if you are dealing with something, if you are having thoughts, if you are abusing substances and all that sort of thing, get out, get help, talk to a friend, send a text, send a tweet, all that type of thing. Go out and get help. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do, but it's also the most important thing you'll ever have to do. And I thought that was really good. It was a very good version of something that could have come off very bad in the mouth of just about anybody else. And the whole time he's saying this, it's hard, because we're talking about real shit. So if I sound like I'm awkward, it's because we're talking about real shit. It's not like, oh, I think this person should have beaten this person in a fictional match. A small part of me was like, okay, is he gonna lean on his, like, straight edge thing? Like, okay, Mox is dealing with these issues, but we're not going to turn that into, like, everybody that's ever had a drink ever needs to turn their lives on their heads or whatever, because he is so outspoken and with that type of thing. And it never went into that. And I think that's a credit to him as well. What happens, though, is he talks about Mox being, as somebody who's not here for a very good reason, for a very respectable reason. Everybody show your love. Don't cheer for me. I want to hear you guys cheering for Moxley. I'm proud of that guy. Ready, raw. And then he kicked back into promo mode, and it was really, I don't know if people agree with me or not, it was really jarring, because then he said, well, the guy that doesn't have any reason not to be here is Eddie Kingston, and he talks about the face-to-face that they had on Rampage. He sort of acknowledges a fan that says, hey, you should fight at Full Gear, invites him out to meet him on Rampage on Friday, which apparently is in a different place. Apparently they're not doing the Dynamite Rampage combined thing this week, so that's something. It is awkward for him, after just talking about the Mox thing, to take a jab at Kingston for not being there, because the context that all of us fans know Kingston in is like Moxley's best friend, his right-hand man, whatever. So even in a fictional sense, if Moxley's having all these struggles, you want to believe maybe his buddy is by his side and Punk's going to call him out for not being there that night, not knowing why, or at least with the fans not knowing why. There is a version of that sounds really bad. Like really, really bad. But and then he takes it, he steers it back into the fiction again, and he says, look, Mox is out of this Eliminator tournament. I could have taken Mox's spot tonight, beaten up Orange Cassidy, and fought Daniel Bryan at Full Gear. That got a huge pop, because that has to happen at some point. It's a different conversation for a different day, but that match has to happen at some point. So why would you bother bringing it up now when it's not happening? He says, oh, I could have fought Orange tonight. I could have fought Daniel Bryan at Full Gear, which sort of buries Orange, because it's like, oh, I'll just move Orange Cassidy out of the way. But, you guys aren't getting a match between me and Bryan, because now I have to go deal with this Kingston stuff. That's, hey, I'd rather fight somebody else. The fans would rather fight somebody else. Kingston, Kingston is keeping the fans from a match that they would want, because there's not a fan out there, and I don't even have knowledge of ROH or the Indies or anything like that. But even I know that there's not a fan out there, myself included, that wouldn't want to see CM Punk versus Bryan Danielson, I guess I should say, rather than the match that we're getting, which sounds really shitty. When we get to it, we're gonna get to it, because that match is also going to be good. But let's be real, we'd really rather see CM Punk versus Bryan Danielson at Full Gear, which we're not getting. Speaking of taking over Mox's place in the Eliminator Tournament, we get MIRO with another weird god promo that I'm not even really going to go into. The Super Click are having a brawl in the back, where they're confronted by Christian Cage and Luchasaurus, and they brawl 3-on-2 for a little bit. The Super Click have the unfair advantage until, out of nowhere, we get a running, leaping senton off the stage by Jungle Boy, followed by a spear by Christian, followed by a running Rana down the ramp by Jungle Boy on one of the Bucks, and then he locks Adam Cole in the snare trap. But that's not the story here, folks. If you want to talk about a little bit of nostalgia, we want to talk about a little bit of, in the before time, in the long, long ago, what did he hit him with? What did Christian Cage hit Adam Cole with? He hit him with the Concerto. Oh, yes. So it seems that, if I can be punny for a minute, it seems like Christian hasn't lost his edge. Oh, yes. Now, here's the thing. I have a laugh occasionally at the reliance on trios matches in AEW. I would love this to be a trios match, honestly. The Super Click versus Christian Cage and the Jurassic Express. I don't think that's what we're getting, though. I think we are getting the Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express and Adam Cole one-on-one versus Christian Cage at Full Gear. And those are two matches that will run into each other. Like, they're each going to interfere on the other, but I don't mind that in the slightest. And with the rumors about Kevin Owens, again, different topic for a different day, joining these guys, it's a lot of fun, isn't it? I mean, it's a little bit more of the WWE roster on AEW, and I'm not saying anything. Speaking of the WWE roster, the Revival took on the Lucha Dragon. Oh, wait, no. FTR took on Samurai Del Sol and Aerostar. My parents used to drive an Aerostar when I was a kid. I had to get that in there. It's fine. They did some good Lucha things. The FTR did some good wrestling things. Darby Allin was watching this match intently, because I don't know why. I guess him and Sting are going to go for the tag titles eventually. Samurai Del Sol hit the Salida Del Sol, which I popped for. Victory roll by FTR on, I think it was on Kalisto, for the win, holding the ropes clearly because they are heels. Good match, good outing for the new AAA champions, the Super Frogs. I mean, the Revival. I mean, FTR. And I mean, all kidding aside, because I mean, I popped when Kalisto was the Cruiserweight champion in WWE. I'm not like the people that were like, oh, Lucha House Party, a bunch of jobbers, and now I'm going to cheer him because he's on the other show. I genuinely popped because I didn't realize it was Kalisto at first. I'm an idiot. It's fine. I mean, Aerostar looks like he has flashlights on his mask, and that's interesting. As soon as I realized that it was Kalisto, my next question was is the other one Grand Metalik, which I don't think it is. Somebody's going to correct me down in the box below, and I'm going to sound like an asshole. But I am, sarcasm aside, genuinely excited and intrigued by the idea of Kalisto, now Samurai Del Sol, in AEW, because I would love to see him face, what's his name, Rey Fenix. How could I forget somebody named Phoenix? Moving swiftly on away from my biases. Shida finally gets her trophy presented to her properly by Tony Schiavone in the back, not nearly as prestigious as the fake presentation was a couple weeks ago. Gets made fun of by Nyla Rose, who she has to face next in the TBS tournament, and Nyla Rose is going to go farther in the tournament, isn't she? Oh, I'm so glad I get to not talk about this shit. So in the Inner Circle, and Dan Lambert, and American Top Team, and the Men of the Year, and Roddy Raw, Dan Lambert says some shit and the crowd wants him to shut up. So do I. Inner Circle are here to choose the opponents for the pay-per-view, and it is as predictable as you think. What's his name? Sammy Guevara defended his TNT Championship successfully against Ethan Page. We thought it was going to be Scorpio Sky. I thought it was going to be Scorpio Sky. I was wrong. So they get to pick 3 of the members of the other team. Dan Lambert makes a big song and dance about all the different MMA people he's got on American Top Team. Paige Van Zant tries to get herself in the match, which we know isn't going to happen because the world doesn't like intergender wrestling unless you watch Impact, which is why you should watch Impact, which is why Jordan Grace is the social media champion in Impact, which is, she didn't bring it to the Destiny show, which was kind of a bummer. But she basically says nobody has the balls to face her, and I could take on all 5 of you at once, and Jericho's response was perfect, because his response was, well, that joke just writes itself, doesn't it? Which is really, really good. They choose to face Sky, Page, Junior Dos Santos, Orlovsky, whose first name I don't know and can't pronounce, and wait for it. I know you're going to be shocked. I know this big choosing thing and Lambert being the mouthpiece for this group, it's going to shock you. It's going to shock you. The 5th person they're going to face is Dan Lambert. Yay! Many people in this whole scenario, I wish we were doing better things. I wish Scorpio Sky was doing better things. I wish Ethan Page was doing better things. I wish the Men of the Year, as a tag team, were doing better things. I wish Sammy Guevara was focused on defending his championship. I wish Jericho was doing something with somebody good. I wish Santana and Ortiz were in the tag title picture. I wish Hager was wrecking fools. I do not care about all these MMA fuckwads. I really don't. And Dan Lambert can fuck the fuck off. Oh yes, I'm gonna be so glad. This is a preview of me and Guapo previewing this pay-per-view next week. I don't care about this match. That's it. This is gonna be one of those things where I turn to Guapo and say, Guapo, make me care about this match. And he's going to talk about it. He's probably going to pull out something that I'm not aware of or that I don't know, and that's why he's my AEW guy. But I don't know. You guys tell me down in the box below. Tell me why I should give a shit about this. There's so many people in this match that I like that it pisses me off that I don't care about the match. Moving swiftly on You know who's fun? Anna Jay. Anna Jay took on Jamie Hayter in the ongoing TBS championship thing. Immediately, because Jamie Hayter comes out with Rebel Don't Call Her Reba, Reba Don't Call Her Rebel, and the current women's champion, Britt Baker, she is defined as a sidekick. Anna Jay is a star, she's a sidekick, so the match was already not really in any doubt. I mean, it wasn't. It flipped on its head. But the whole way through, it was fought like a match that Anna Jay was going to win. Anna Jay has been back for a while now, and she's still sort of got that I've just come back energy, which is really, really cool. Distraction by Rebel, trip by Baker, lariat by Hayter, and Hayter gets the win. Now, let's talk about some interlocking stories here for a second, because there's a post-match assault by all three of them on Anna Jay, and she's saved by Tay Conte, who immediately targets Britt Baker, who she's facing at the pay-per-view, which is fine. Thunder Rosa then joins the fray because Hayter has won the right to face her in the next round, and honestly, Anna Jay's the one that gets left in the win because Baker is facing Tay Conte at Full Gear. Thunder Rosa is taking on Hayter next week in the next round. Rebel, they don't really let Rebel ever do anything, which is kind of unfortunate, and Anna Jay, who should have won this match, is left swinging in the breeze, which is a little bit not so great, but I predict we're going to get a trios match sometime, either just before or just after the pay-per-view, and it's going to be Jamie Hayter, Rebel Don't Call Her Reba, Reba Don't Call Her Rebel, and the current women's champion, Britt Baker, taking on Anna Jay, Tay Conte, and Thunder Rosa. By that point, let's be real, Thunder Rosa might be the TBS champion, so you might have a champion on each side. We don't know. Speaking of the tournament, yet again, Jade Cargill is in the back with Mark Sterling, and they talk some garbage. And guess what? Guess what? That's right, I don't care in the slightest, because Jade Cargill is another one, like Lambert, like Nyla Rose, that can fuck all the way off. Oh yes. You know what can't fuck all the way off, though? MJF Darby Allin. Now, there's a lot of things to look forward to at Full Gear. MJF Darby Allin is definitely one of them. MJF comes out and cuts another scathing promo. I'm not going to try and recap it all. I'm really not. This is one of those things where I'm going to use the cop-out of, it's so good, if you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. But he basically calls him out as, you know, the fans only cheer you because you're one of them, and they know that I'm so much above them, and all this sort of thing. You're such a misfit. You're never going to fit into society, which I always love when the heel does that, because they are so sure that it's an insult when really it's exactly why the fans love somebody. Darby says, you know, you're not going to get in my head. You're not going to get me to fuck up or make a mistake or be super violent at the pay-per-view and cost myself the match, because I'm going to get all my violence out tonight. He starts heading to the ring because he's been brooding in the aisleway ever since that weird tag team thing where he was paying attention and nobody really knew why. I can speak, I swear. MJF tries to start his way back up the rampway. He's stopped by Sting and what I can only refer to as Darby Druids. They're all dressed in black, they're following Sting, but they do the Darby thing of having somebody else's face stapled on their face. And so all the Darby Druids get into a fight with all the members of the Pinnacle. MJF gets chased sort of back toward, I want to say towards the ring, but more towards Darby, who's in the crowd. Darby does this really long-standing, hey everybody, get out of my way, and sort of like body checks him through the guardrail, except the guardrail doesn't move. I don't know, you can talk about all the title matches, you can talk about all the quote-unquote bigger names, I guess. If you want to talk about the headliners being like the Elite, the Adam Coles, the Daniel Bryans, the CM Punks, etc., this is one of the ones that's gonna sneak up, because it's not gonna be the main event, and it's not gonna be for a championship. I don't even think it'll get either of them like a number one contendership, but it is one of the, I'm going to use it because MJF keeps using it, it is one of the pillars of the pay-per-view, in my opinion. I really want to get you guys' opinion down in the box below. Tell me what you think of the MJF Darby thing, because low-key, I know people are going to say that this is sacrilege. This story, in the couple of weeks that it's been building since MJF made his pillar promo, this story is more intriguing to me than the Page Omega thing is. And we all know how long the Page and Omega thing has been going. Like I said before, we all know how good the Page and Omega match is going to be. This might edge it out for me, I'm not going to lie. If only for, you know, those guys are in the main event where they belong. These guys are two more guys that should belong in the main event and are going to show you on the night that they should be in the main event. And to me, I'm sorry, that's always a more intriguing story. If you want to switch it over into WWE terms, imagine any promo or any match where you look at a Intercontinental match and say that was better than the WWE title match, because they've happened quite a bit, especially the farther you go back in history. It's like, why wasn't that the main event? We may come out of Full Gear looking at MJF and Darby Allin saying, why wasn't that the main event? But hey, that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think down in the box below. Andrade versus Cody. So Almas versus Stardust. It's fine, it's good, whatever. I really do like Andrade's black mask entrance, how he comes out in the full suit and the mask and the whole bit, and then wears it for like 30 seconds and then takes it off on the ramp and goes to the ring. I want to say in the early going that Andrade kicked the shit out of Cody, but to Cody's credit, these guys kicked the shit out of each other for a fair bit of time. I was watching this and part of me was thinking, how is this going on so long, like when the main event is for that last spot in the Eliminator tournament? And there's sort of a tie between Andrade and Pac and Cody and Aleister Black now. I'm pretty sure there's an NXT joke to be made in there somewhere, but just for the sake of, like I say sometimes, match for the sake of a match, Andrade popped me with the Three Amigos, including the little Eddie Guerrero shuffle there, everybody in the crowd chanting Eddie, which is awesome. The third Amigo being into the corner is a nice little extra spice on it, because I can't think of a better way to say it. And then on top of that, for Andrade, of all people, who's with Charlotte Flair, who's the daughter of Ric Flair, to be the one to reverse the figure four and put a figure four of his own on Cody was really, really good. He went out to the outside to collect himself. Cody went for a suicide dive. FTR, like silk, just slipping in there like silk, popped out from under the ring with their AAA titles, and Cody Rhodes ate both those belts to the face. And how? Gets chucked back into the ring, and Andrade gets the win, and it makes me happy. I get to see Cody Rhodes get smacked in the face with inanimate objects. I get to see Cody Rhodes lose a match, which means he's going to go 5 or 6 more matches with Andrade and beat him in the end, but let's enjoy the moment while we have it. There's a 3-on-1 post-match beatdown while Arn and Tully act like they're going to fight. Tully Blanchard really does look like Joe Biden. When he tries to look tough, it really does make me laugh. And then the whole thing is broken up by the Lucha Brothers, who have a AEW title match going with FTR, aka the Revival, aka the Super Frogs, at Full Gear. They still haven't made it title versus title. I think they're missing an opportunity there, but we've already been over that, and let's move on to the most predictable. Oh, it's not either. Oh shit, I missed something. Random interview with John Silver and Tony Schiavone, because John Silver's gonna face Adam Cole on Friday. So John Silver's gonna lose to Adam Cole on Friday. That's nice. Punk and Kingston are gonna go face to face on Friday as well, and Bunny is gonna take on Red Velvet, and the winner of that match is also the loser, because then they have to go on and waste time in the ring with Jade Cargill as they get buried by the Jade Cargill experiment. Isn't that wonderful? Fucking I love this show as much as I hate this show. Give me some NXT. Give me some fireworks and rainbows. It'll be fine. Orange Cassidy versus Miro, and this is there's all kinds of story before the match even starts, because it's Orange Cassidy who won his way into this match. It's Miro who's taking Jon Moxley's place for reasons already discussed. It's Daniel Bryan who the winner is going to face on commentary. We spend a lot of time talking about how both men are bandaged up from previous encounters with other people, and we point out that Matt Hardy is in the crowd, having beaten the shit out of Orange Cassidy in that ladder match a while ago. I don't remember how Miro got the leg injury. Did he get the leg injury in the match with Sammy Guevara? Somebody tell me down in the box below, because I don't remember, because I don't have a file of facts up here. It's fine. Miro owns for a good long first portion of the match. There is, and I don't know who the credit goes to, but there is this insane tornado DDT that Orange Cassidy does in the middle of this match, and Miro, being the bigger guy, I I guess that's why it stuck out to me so much. But if you go back to about the midpoint of this match, this tornado DDT by Orange Cassidy, which is something we would expect from Orange Cassidy, but Miro turns his big ass inside out selling this DDT, which is really, really good. Quickly we get Miro to the outside once they start brawling and once things start getting a little bit more dicey on the outside. Orange Cassidy hits him with the elbow drop through the table, gets him back in the ring though. They go back and forth for a little bit longer. Body block, super kick, and the game over. Gets the win for Miro. Brian Danielson, sorry, comes down. They have a stare down. He offers the handshake because it's Daniel Bryan and that's what he does. And that's how we go off the air. This show had a lot of cool stuff in it. It had a lot of building, a lot more talking segments than I feel like we usually get on a Dynamite. I mean, the whole deck had to be shuffled with the Moxley situation, and despite what was probably going to be a huge moment at the end of this show, because you gotta believe, there's no way it was going to be Orange Cassidy versus Daniel Bryan at the pay-per-view. No offense to Orange Cassidy, I like the guy. I would love to see a match between him and Bryan Danielson, but they were setting up for Danielson versus Mox, and just him winning tonight would have gotten the pop, but him winning with the knowledge that was going to give us him versus Danielson would have been a pretty cool moment. And I don't say that, oh shucks, couldn't he have just given us 2 more matches? I'm not saying that at all. Go, as I've said throughout this entire review, and I hope the message is very, very clear. By all means, go fight your personal demons and come back when you're ready. But it did put AEW in a spot. It put Tony Khan and everybody else in charge in a spot where I'm sure it wasn't just the main event. I'm sure other things were shuffled around on this show. I'm sure CM Punk and that entire promo would have been very, very different. But yeah, the Moxley thing hung heavy over this show, as more serious issues in the real world should. So very, very different feeling show, but appropriately so. We've got some stuff set up for Friday. We've only got 2 matches, unless there's going to be a big, gigantic Punk and Kingston face-to-face that turns into a match that night. But I would much rather see that on pay-per-view, wouldn't you? Yeah. Let them cut promos on each other for 20 minutes. That's fine. That'll take up a match segment. I've rambled on for quite long enough. I enjoyed the show despite some of the things that had to happen for us to get here. I'm going to sign off with, for whatever it's worth, hope John Moxley and his friends, his family, his fans, his supporters are all good. And yeah, I'm going to finish off with the same thing CM Punk said. I don't have experience with these types of issues, but I mean, ask for help if you need it. I know it's not easy, but there's a stigma out there. We need to kick the stigma's ass, whether it's alcohol, drugs, depression, mental illness, suicidal ideologies, all that kind of thing. I'd rather, somebody put a thing up on my Facebook a while ago, I'd rather stay up all night hearing about your problems than wake up the next morning and find out you died, which is a really, really morbid way to put a really good point. Hope you guys are all doing good out there. I'm just going to end it off on a note like this. For those of you that have been sticking with me for a while, you guys know I don't exactly do incredibly great with the more serious stuff, but it is one of those moments that makes you say, hey, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And you know what? Throw a comment down in the video. If you're not good, tell somebody. Maybe it's not me. Maybe it is me. Find me on Twitter, @SpazPhoenix. If you're having a bad day or whatever, you need to have a rant. I'm always open to it. I can't give you much help, but yeah, don't suffer in silence. All the things that all the PSAs tell you. People that need help should get help, and people that need help should not feel like shit for asking for help. And that's all I can say. That's a very serious and mundane way for me to end this review. But as I started off, and as I'm going to say right now, some things are more important than wrestling, and more important than wrestling is I hope you guys are all doing okay. And if you're not okay, ask for help. I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.